Welcome back to Will at Work. I am Kevin, and in this series we're looking at my game consoles and we're trying to figure out if they work. Some of them I had a very long time, including this one. This is the Telegames version of the Atari 2600. It's Telegames Video Arcade. It's kind of rough, beat up, not cleaned up. It is what it is. It was purchased at a Goodwill for $2 back in the day, and I don't think I've ever used it. That switch looks like it's seen better days. So that broke. Looks like it might have snapped off there. But we can glue that guy back on. I'm not thinking this is exactly a collector's item. Telegames ones aren't, I would say none of these kinds of units are rare. I would say the Telegames one's a little bit more uncommon. You usually tend to see the standard Atari one because kids wanted Atari and parents went out and bought Atari rather than the Telegames units. And there were also the Vader, what they call the Vader Atari, which was the all-black Atari. But the Telegames ones are identical in the same sense that, Atari was basically making this for Sears and just branding it with the Telegames brand because that's just what they did back then to set themselves apart. This is not my only Atari, but I just wanted to touch base on the 2600. We've gone through a lot of game systems, and the 2600 was one of the last ones that of the older systems that I have. Not the last, but last of the most popular. And I will say that the 2600 probably is responsible for modern video gaming and it being the way it is rather than it being, say, board games on your TV, right? Like, Atari was able to generate a level of hype with video games that sort of drove an excitement about them in ways that other companies weren't really doing, and it worked for Atari. It set them apart. They had huge sales. They were the dominant company, especially when they were under Warner's ownership. And the 2600 is the original classic big time game system. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm not saying it played the best games. It certainly didn't. But it started it all. It really did. It wasn't the first game system. We looked at the Odyssey, and, we touched on that. We've certainly looked at a lot of Pong systems that came out in the 70s. And we know that there's other ones like F-System, etc. that came out before this. But this was the one that really mattered. This was the one that everybody had and everybody was playing games on. I've got a ton of stuff for it. So this is not the only unit I have. I do also, and we are going to try out a Super Video Arcade 2 from Sears, or Sears Video Arcade 2. This was also sold, this model was also sold by Atari in Japan, and it's extremely rare, and it's known as the Atari 2800. In fact, I've recently seen some Atari 2800s for sale from Japan for very high price, thousands of dollars, and I'm skeptical that they're even real, mainly because it would not be difficult to take one of these units, replace this little plate right here with a remanufactured Atari 2800 plate and sell it as an Atari 2800. They are otherwise identical systems. You have joystick paddle buttons to select which one you're using, and it has 4-player controls on the bottom. It's a little bit of a nicer unit. I'm not necessarily expecting the first one to work, but Super Video Arcade 2, hopefully it will work. It does have a rather unique power plug there, and I hopefully have the original one that'll make that work. I also have When Atari kind of came back out later to compete with the NES and everything, they released the 7800, the XEGS, and they also had relaunched the 2600 as the 2600 Junior, which is basically what this is, I believe. It doesn't say 2600 Junior on it, but it was the small compact design. Controllers went on the back, etc. It keeps the RF out. Unfortunately, still no composite. Whatever. And we also looked at the 7800, and the 7800 played 2600 titles, and that did function. So we're going to test all three of these in this series, even the one with the broken control. What are you going to do? Shit happens. As long as I have power for all of these, and I think I will. So let's look at a few things in addition that I have here. So of course we have the original Atari Joysticks. Get this one out of the cord here. It's a bit tangled. 1 second. So this is the original joystick, and it has this rubber top, right? Nothing unscrews, etc. And a lot of times you would hang out at kids' houses and this would be off because it could get pulled off eventually. They weren't really glued on as far as I'm aware, but they were pretty well mounted underneath the ridge of this controller, so you know they would stay in place unless you pulled on them pretty good, and then they would pop off. And a lot of times kids would chew on the ends of these things too. It was kind of gross, but you know, you could still play with the controller like this. And sometimes it can even be better because this rubber can totally wound your hand after a while from rubbing on it. It's just one of those things. There were plenty of aftermarket controllers, and we'll take a look at those. So let's see, I also have the Sears Super Video Arcade, and we also looked at the Gemini in this series from Coleco. That was also a 2600 clone. It's earlier in the series. So this is the one that came with the Sears Video Arcade. It was a kind of a interesting thing. It's a little sticky right there, but I think that'll work itself out. You could play with a joystick. You had 2 buttons on either side. I believe they work the same. They possibly could be maybe targeted differently, but I'm not aware of any games that use more than 1 button unless they use this, you know, their own controller. And it also had a paddle control built into it. So decent. We'll check it out and see how well it works. Got 2 of those. And then we have the paddle controller. And the paddle controller was always connected to 1 port, right? So 1 port for both controls, and single button, and it only goes so far, and then it stops. It looks like that one's kind of broke right there. It's a little bit of love. It's alright, I've got more. It's just like totally trashed. It's like trashed. Anyway, that one might have gotten crunched at some point. Like I said, some of these things were like a Goodwill sale, etc. So what are you going to do? Not something that can't be fixed. Collector's item? No. Something that can be fixed? Yes. So we have a Now, to find an actual, like, new in-box Atari 2600, I mean, that's got to be, like, not a clone, because those are out there. You can buy, like, a Rambo or something, and it looks like one of these old ones, you know, new in-box, but it's not an official unit. Official units, new in-box, man, I don't know, that's pretty rare. So here we go again, paddle controller. They only go so far, to the left and the right. Now, they did sell ones that were driving, and it had a little wheel right here. And, you know, it said driving, I believe, or it said wheel, I can't remember. But those would continually go all the way around. And you would think to yourself, like, couldn't you just do one? And But whatever. I don't know. I don't make the rules, guys. That's just what they did back then. The driving controls or something. Let's see. We have another Atari 2600 joystick. We don't need to look at that. We have a third and a fourth. This is the touchpad, typically used for the game Star Raiders. You would put in a slip in here. I don't know if I have one. And you would be able to push 1, 2, 3, etc. Kind of like how the Intellivision and the ColecoVision, gave you the number pad. Here you could do similar things with this. It would occupy one of the control ports, however. So, generally limited to a single player game in most cases. I know that there are systems that take 4 joysticks. Maybe you could have a 2-player game with 2 control pads. I've never seen it. I've never seen it done that way, my friend. We have the 500 FX 500 XJ joystick. I used to use this one a lot because I like the ergonomics on it. Some people don't. It's micro switched, right? So it was really accurate in that case. It sat well in the hand. The reason people didn't like it was because the fire button was on the bottom right here. But this is like your trigger finger. So I never had any issues having that trigger button there, but some people just didn't like it. Still, this is my favorite joystick. Although I did also like the Boss. It was called the Boss controller, and I don't have one of those because that had a sort of a unique squared bottom. So when you wanted to go diagonal in a game, like Jumpman or something, like you would always land it because it always went diagonal. That was a good controller. Probably something else that people hated, but you know what? It worked for me. We've got here the Slick Stick. This was more of a sort of a, smaller, very short, especially when it was new, traverse, so you could get things, in and out. Not micro switched, but it has a nice defined diagonal versus, I don't know what, octagonal? No idea. No idea what I'm talking about, but it's decent. Alright, so we've got Atari Trackball. I guess you would play this with Missile Command more than anything else. It's for use with the Atari Video Computer System, the VCS, which, they originally called this. Not like the later system that it's called now. And I believe this is in like pretty much new condition. It's a pretty weighted trackball. We'll give it a we'll try it out and see how it works. It's got a JS and a TB switch on the back. Not sure what that means. KM503, made in the USA. That's rare for electronics even back then. So I do have a number of games that are loose as well as in the box. I will show you what I've got, because I've got some interesting titles as well I think you'll find worth looking at. So rather basic ones. Let's see, I've got Asteroids Adventure. And I'd like to try each of these quickly when we're looking at this, just to see if they work. Video Olympics, Pacman, Atlantis, Fishing Derby, Pole Position, Hangman, Missile Command. We can try the trackball with that one. So those are the loose ones that I have. Now in the box, I have Football, never opened, Phoenix, never opened, Jungle Hunt, still sealed. Joust, still sealed. Galaxian, sealed. Ms. Pacman, still sealed. Pole Position, still sealed. Baseball, still sealed. And then there was a time when the pornography company, Swedish Erotica, had made video games for the Atari 2600. I don't know the whole story about it, and I think there might have been a lawsuit or something, but I'm not sure. And they, were told to cease production. They were all found in a warehouse back in the 90s, I think, and sold online. And I had purchased some of them. I will show you the three that I have. It's Mystique presents Swedish Erotica, Beat 'em and Eat 'em, an adult video game cartridge for the Atari video game system, not for sale to minors, still sealed. There's no graphics on the back. Uses a Pong controller. Now you can find these all emulated everywhere. People get a big kick out of them. Custer's Revenge. Take standard joystick. Is there a date on the back here? Made in Hong Kong, 1982. So these came out in 1982. And then I do have one that's opened. It is Bachelor Party. 2 totally different adult video games in one cartridge, not for sale to minors. Also playing Gigolo. And when you open it up, you get this little paper slip in here. Your play around 2-in-1 adult video game cartridge is perhaps the most major breakthrough in home video games to come along in years. 2 totally different video games, blah, blah, blah. And it just tells you how to use it. But it came in this little diary, which I thought was kind of fun. There's some other slips in here too. Looks like instructions for both games. But yeah, it comes in this little diary. And I believe there was a little lock. Maybe not. I can't remember anymore. It doesn't look like it's in the box anyway, if I did have it. But it might have had a little lock on there so you could lock the game so the kids couldn't get at it. Ah, there it is. It's inside here, see? And then you had your game cartridge in the case, and it was double-ended. So you could play on either side. So that one's unique and kind of interesting, and so we'll take a look at this one. I'm not worried about offending anybody at this point because the graphics are so crude. I don't know what you're imagining, but adults warning. Anyway, I guess, you're on the internet. You've seen worse than I'm going to be able to show you. Yeah, so I'm going to try and scrape some adapters together here and get things connected. And we'll switch over to the video side for each of these, and we'll see how some of these games work, what they look like, and what does and doesn't work with these consoles. And we'll also try the trackball and the various controllers and just see how well they play. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're looking at the Sears Video Arcade 2 because I have a power adapter for that one handy. So this is Pole Position, the 2600. It's kind of weird how it's sort of squared off on the screen, but I ain't gonna complain right now. Let's see. Pole Position was another one of those games that was big in the arcade. You could find it just about everywhere. I always found it to be ridiculously hard. This had to have been really difficult to actually program. If you know like about the 2600's programming, which I watched this great video on, it was basically just you had to write machine code to program the raster
which was the the display out of the TV, and tell it what graphic to put where. But you had you had limited memory, but then also there was the problem where the raster, if you didn't time things right, if things took too long to draw or whatever on the screen, you ended up with your graphics just not showing up because the raster went somewhere else. Really kind of interesting. All right, so pole position works. It sucks, but it works. Let's look at Video Olympics. These early sort of generic titled Atari games were all kind of like this. Like they were just sort of basic. You needed somebody like Activision to kind of come along and show you how it was done. Am I playing? I have no idea what's going on. Oh, I have to switch to paddle. I have no idea. There I go. Woo! Yeah! Scored on you. Oh. It does have a pretty good signal, though, don't it? I mean, for being, like, when you compare it to, like, the Pong systems we've looked at over this series, I don't know what any of these games do. You'd have to get, like, the manual to kind of... just variations of Pong, basically. If you liked Pong, Video Olympics. Okay. Should have just called it Pong. Pong games. Pong games from Atari. Let's just see if Hangman works. We're not even going to play it. Let's just see if it works. So far, that looks like a no. Let's reseat it. Yep, there it is. Okay. Pacman. Pacman, the original 1981. Yeah, I don't know the whole, like, deal. I didn't watch the whole video on programming the 2600, so I don't know the whole deal with the sprites, you know. So I don't know how many they had or whatever. But I do remember, like, Pac-Man was a big deal, and if you could get Pac-Man for the 2600, that was pretty cool. It was, Pac-Man, I think, was, like, maybe one of the last big games for it that I recall. I mean, it was around for a long time, but the 2600, but, you know, it started to lose its dominance after a while because of the computer market and the video game crash in '83, but it had already been out for like 5 or 6 years at that point. So anyway, all this is going to do is repeat itself once I beat it, so it doesn't matter. Pac-Man works. We'll hold on to Missile Command for now. Let's try Atlantis. This one's made by Magic. Had lots of these things. There was like this company Zonix. They had double-ended cartridges, you know. Wish I had more like Choplifter and Barnstorming and stuff, because a lot of those like Activision games are a lot of fun. Stampede. We looked at Stampede, I think, earlier, but yeah. Let's hit reset. Can't even see the bullets in this. just kind of like a poor man's Missile Command, if you ask me. All right, that works. Asteroids, not even gonna play it. Let's just see if it works. Whew. There we go. 81. It's always interesting to me because like the 2600 apparently came out in like 1978. But when you see a lot of these copyrights on a lot of these games, they're all like in like 80, 81, 82. Like the first 2 years, like I don't know what was going on, but there wasn't much. Pretty basic stuff, really. I mean, maybe things like Adventure came out then. I don't even know if this will show a copyright. Nah. Adventure is kind of goofy. You get the key. And kind of get the arrow. And you gotta kill the dragon. So you ain't dead dragon. There's this famous Easter egg. It's like the first Easter egg that was ever in a game or something like that. And it's like in Adventure, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's like a big deal. You could read about it if you were that interested. But it was like the first one, and the rest of it's just kind of, yeah, it's like going through a maze. You gotta normally dodge the dragon, but I killed the freaking thing in 2 minutes, so, you know, good for me. Oh, what the fuck? Can't get it in there. Wrong hole, Kevin. Yeah, now I got the drawbridge. Forget what I'm supposed to do here, to be honest with you. It's like the Black Knight's castle or something. I have no idea. What am I doing? I haven't played this in forever. I have no memory of this game. Fuck. What am I doing? Anyway, Adventure works. I'd have to read about it. And then lastly, I have Activision's Fishing Derby. And of course, I'll show you the Swedish erotica game right after this. Activision made pretty good games. I think this was pretty early for them. But yeah, you would kind of try to catch the fish but avoid the shark, right? Forget what you're supposed to, how you do this, though. Oh, you can bring it up fast or slow, that's what it is. But it attracts the shark. I think if you go deeper or something, it's... Fuck, man. The shark needs to go away. It's bumming me out. Anyway, that guy's got 50, I got 8. We're not doing so well. All right, now let's look at the Bachelor Party game. Sorry about the static. I know it gets kind of loud. Let's first try Bachelor Party. I don't think I've ever tried this. That's like a breakout clone. Most of these games are some sort of variation of some other game, just with like, I gotta switch this to paddle control. Not sure what I'm supposed to be, or what that thing is. Tracking's not great here. Just want to clear the board and see if anything happens. And could you imagine, like, somebody being offended by this? Like, there's absolutely nothing going on in it. Oh my goodness. This guy's hauling ass. Shit. Oh. That's it. And it just keeps going. Could you imagine you spent money on this? You're like, yeah, it's going to be some sexy shit, man. Woo! Bachelor Party, yeah! Can't wait to go home and see what this is going to be like. And you get home and you watch it, you play this, you're like, this is the fucking dumbest thing. How much did you pay for this game? I don't know. I thought it was going to be all like, you know, porn and stuff. And let's try Gigolo. Just a gigolo everywhere I go. Okay, so what do I do? Oh, am I supposed to use paddle control? No, joystick. What's going on? I see the purple girl on the bottom. She's not moving. I feel like that's probably me. That's not doing anything. Now, if you're looking at this on the video, for instance, you'll see that shimmering play around on the encoder, and a lot of times you'll see shadows of graphics, etc. That's basically because, you know, the 2600 is doing tricks in order to display multiple things at once on screen, and it's doing that, you know, based on the raster gun. And the timing of the encoder isn't going to be as precise, so yeah, it doesn't always have things show up. Yeah, I don't know how to play this game. I'm not going to read the instructions. I'm too lazy. That's Gigolo. So, all right. So, Sears Video Arcade 2 works great. This one's a keeper. We're going to wrap that one up. I'm going to pause the video here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to try one of the other ones with a trackball controller and missile command. Okay, so here we go. Okay, and now we're looking at the 2600 Junior. I've inserted missile command. It looks like it's in black and white. Let's turn on the color. And I've cooked up the trackball. So we'll see if this actually works. I don't know why it wouldn't, although maybe there's some mode you have to put the game in or something. It seems weird to me that it would go from joystick to trackball without some sort of, you know, but what do I know? Okay, so that's not moving as expected. And I could also have it in the wrong port. All right, let's try the other joystick port. Cartridge got a little loose there, so hit the reset button. It is interesting that this unit will switch between channels 2 and channels 3. Why that's interesting is because most game systems, not all, but most, are 3 and 4. I don't know why that is. Like, I don't know why they chose 3 and 4 over 2 and 3. Maybe somewhere in the world there was a TV station that occupied both channels 2 and 3, like in New York or something, and they said, let's do you know, let's try it again. Okay, well, that works. That's weird. So this is with the trackball. Now, if you ever played the actual Missile Command in the arcade, one of the main differences is that you have 3, if I recall correctly, you have 3 missile bases, and one on the left, one on the right, one in the middle, kind of like how Atlantis is laid out. And if the missile hits one of your bases, then you can no longer use it. And the missiles that are, further away from the target take longer to get there and need more timing. I have to say, like, as simple as this game seems to be, programming this on the Atari 2600 was probably pretty difficult. It's always kind of amazing what these developers did to get this little system to work. Especially in an era where, like, there wasn't like a PC or something that you would use to program this on. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like a Windows laptop you would sit there and work out, running in some sort of developer mode. Like, I mean, I don't know what they actually wrote these things in, but it had to be, it had to be like on some weird, really early, like, PET computer or something, and they just wrote them in raw assembler and had no development libraries, because who ever heard of a library? You just wrote shit out, man. Alright, anyway, I do have some more games, though. Let's kill this one. Sorry about the static. We got Snake here, so let me quickly put the trackball away, and then I will play Snake. But ultimately, yeah, hey, the trackball works. So, you know what, Atari? Good job on somehow making a trackball that, I don't know, emulated a joystick or something? I don't know what the magic was there that made that work, but yeah, today you need all these drivers and shit, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have the right drivers, and they have to be updated, and the buttons would have to be mapped, and whatever. Atari just, like, makes something, just works, whatever. Now, if you're watching this, I do have a modern 2600 game for Halo. Halo 2600 came out. It's kind of like a homebrew game, but came out with a cartridge and a nice manual. There was also a box, but I didn't want to pay the extra like $20-30 for the box. And I'm going to be playing it here shortly, and we can take a look at that as well. But let's see, I'm going to try a different joystick, make sure it works. It looks like this unit is going to be fine, and then the last unit we'll do is we'll try that really old crappy one with the broken button and see if that one even works or if it's going to be destined for the trash pile. All right, let's see. I don't know. Reset. What is going on in this game? Wow, this is some high-speed shit. I have no idea what's going on, man. This is crazy. What the fuck just happened? Yeah, I can move left and right. Oh, I'm like stuck inside this square. And depending on which side I'm on, I can shoot. You would think like a game like Snake, like I would be the snake. But there's like weird unicorn heads. Looks like when I shoot it, yeah. Okay. Not my favorite game, Snake. It's not the one I'm looking for. All right. Let's try this Halo out. Get out of the plastic. And I'm also going to switch joysticks again. This one seems to be okay. Doing pretty good here with 2600 stuff. I don't have any paddle games, unfortunately. Would you believe I don't have any games that work with the paddles? That seems kind of odd. Video Olympics might have been one. I guess, yeah, that worked, right? I don't know. All right, we're going to try this Epix 500XJ joystick. One of these days I got to look up the history of Epix and try to understand their relationship to Atari versus everybody else. Because they made a lot of games for Atari and Commodore and stuff, but they didn't seem to really carry that to like later generations. Like maybe they got bought by Atari or something. Here we go. Halo 2600. You are witnessing it right here. And Master Chief. Din it, din, din, din. Din it, din, din, din. Oh! I don't know what that was. Alright, don't go that way. Oh, there's a gun. Alright. Yeah, screw you, buddy. Okay, got a shield. I think that's a shield. Oh. Oh. Can I not shoot up and down? What's that? That's going to totally kill me, isn't it? If I walk into that, it seems like a bad idea, doesn't it? Yeah. That was just death. Hey, but there's only one way to know, you know? Got the key. Oh, okay, so the key must open this door. Yeah. Oh, there's like reactors and shit. Looks like I can only shoot one direction. He got me, but I had a shield, so I survived it. Shit, there's two of those fucking guys. Oh. This isn't terrible. Oh, these guys are tough. I mean, for an Atari 2600 game, same man. Oh my god. That's weird. Cool gun. I got the space gun. I don't know what the purple gun does, but I'm sure we're gonna find out here in a minute. I am Master Chief, coming for you. Oh, it shoots faster. Interesting. Oh, fuck. And that's the end. All right, so you've experienced Halo 2600. The 500XX joystick works fine. Fun with turning the power on and off. Let me put this away. All right, and so now I do have volleyball. I wonder if that works. No, it says joystick controllers. So we've got 2 games left. I'm going to switch out the consoles now. I'm going to put this joystick away. I've got one joystick left, which is the Slick Stick. I actually have a couple more Atari joysticks too. I suppose I could try those. But we'll see if this unit works. If I won't put away the Junior just yet, because I got a feeling this one might not work. Or I might not get a channel with it. It's so old and beat up. But it was only $2 back in 1998. Pauses. And what do you know? It works, sort of. The power plug's a little bit loose. Come on. It just needs a little bit of pressure put on it. Yeah. Now let me plug in a joystick. So hey, my $2 Atari. On the back, it's kind of interesting. It says it's made by this Domenco Corp for Atari Corporation and Sears Roebuck. I never quite knew what the Roebucks thing was. Maybe it was like Sears was also like merged with a company called Roebucks or whatever. All right, so we got a Real Sports Volleyball. Oh, shit. Oh. Bullshit. Ah, yeah. Take that. Ah, bullshit. All right. Real Sports Volleyball works. Very cool. And the Slick Stick seems to work fine. Though it's a little beat up, works okay. Let's switch out to our last game will be Joust. I mean, all in all, I have to say, Atari, good quality systems. They all worked after all this time. Even the crazy third-party knockoff one. Joysticks have really kept up and held together well. All the games still work. And, for the most part, this system, we've looked at a whole lot of systems in this series. And just looking at the titles on here, there's just a lot of fun ones that you can kind of understand the difference. Like, back in the day when like somebody would be playing like Coleco or Intellivision, but those were maybe survivors versus the RCAs and the Fairchild F systems and stuff that just had real generic games that couldn't compete against the 2600 in its arcade-like library, and also just the quality of the titles. And we didn't even really look at a lot of the good ones, like Chopper Command or Choplifter or Chopper Command. Not Choplifter. That's the one. Choplifter's the one where you pick people up. But there's a lot of them. Lots and lots of classic Atari games that people remember and love from back in the day. Not E.T., but many other ones. And and Atari, they just, they managed to do they managed to do, you know, a lot with a little. And they screwed it up, you know, they paid the price for their arrogance, basically, but, you know, whole new industry, whole new thing. All right, Joust. That's it. So we didn't really get to test out the Pong paddles, but that's okay. I'm sending a pair out to a fan of the show. I would say a friend of mine, Mozgos, and because he needs a set. And the rest of these joysticks I'm going to put away. I'm going to keep one out in case we need it. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Just pull out the damn sound. Okay. And, yeah, Atari 2600. Now, I did mention earlier in this series that I'm out of mainline systems. That's not actually true. I didn't mean to make that sound like this was the last console that I have by any means. We're not there yet. What I was trying to say is that, like, of the original sort of big systems, right? I think, like, to me, the biggest systems is basically the 2600, the NES, the PlayStation, and then it just gets kind of muddy from there. I know you're thinking, like, well, what about Genesis versus Super NES, or what about, you know, PlayStation 2, and all of those systems are great. We've talked about a lot of those. I'm not trying to knock any one particular system off its pedestal. I just think that there were certain systems that were sort of groundbreaking in a way, like they really kind of changed the way we play games. And I think that, you know, the 2600 goes without saying, because it basically defined the gaming universe that we all exist in today. I mean, they kind of created this hype and energy around video games and made it so it just wasn't like a video board game on your TV sets and all of that. The NES, you know, breathed life back into consoles because people were playing on computers at home, and the whole, like, you know, adults buying systems had switched to computers, and Nintendo brought it back. You know, they brought people back to the console, which a lot of other companies were trying to do and just failed at, you know, and lost business on it. And then lastly, I just think PlayStation, because PlayStation gave us viable 3D that people found to be fun and innovative. I'm not saying they were the first one. They weren't. I mean, Jaguar, 3DO, etc. had come out first. And we've also had 3D games going back basically since the beginning of gaming. But Sony made it so it was really a system sort of designed around that. They were the first ones there. I know Nintendo with the N64 and everything came later, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. They were like the starting point of where we are with 3D even today. So I really think that those are the groundbreaking ones. And yeah, you can look at online play and maybe point to the 360 and say, you know, Xbox Live, you know, and then PlayStation Network and everything. But I don't know how much of a paradigm shift that all kind of was. But maybe in time I'll think more on it and add some more to that list. But those are the big movers and shaker systems. But I still have a lot more game systems to go, and we're gonna see them. I'll see y'all in the next video. Sorry about the static. It's what happens. Crazy show. See you.